Hi there. Well, it's the last half term of the year, and it's been a fairly strange one, isn't it? You've just had a break, but it's not a break from school so much as a break from lessons being set. I hope you've used time constructively. What have I managed to do? Well, I've learned to do that, which isn't very impressive, really, is it? So, what can we say? I was having a look at the BBC website, see what sort of stories are current at the moment, and it's fair to say that in other parts of the world, there are things which are far more on people's minds than the coronavirus. There is still this battle in America with any sense of equality between two huge groups of people, and I think what you can't have missed is what's happening in America in terms of the death of another Black American at the hands of the police, which caused all sorts of unrest. I was drawn to this story though. Oh, I rub out my highlighting. I think I probably can. Right, the story I was drawn to on this page as well though is this. You may or may not know, my father was a climatologist. My father's work was to do with the not the weather, but the climate, how things change along the thing. But if you thought that it had been sunny, you were quite right. May has been the sunniest month on record. Okay, so not just the sunniest May, the sunniest month on record. Now, the difference hasn't been that big. It's 266 hours of sunshine, 265 hours as the previous record in a month. But look down here, on average, between March and the end of May, 436 hours of sunshine. That's the average, okay? Since 1929, only 10 years have had more than 500. Okay, since 1929, that's almost 100 years ago. None since 1929 has had more than 555 hours. This year, it's been 626 hours between March and May, which is, well, you could read more of the article on the BBC site. Apparently a staggering amount. It's smashed the record. I'm not sure whether records can actually be smashed like that, but that's the wording we've got. The other article that I came to here was, I can't avoid any story to do with Liverpool. Here are the Liverpool players taking a break from training for whenever the season starts again. And I don't know if I've done this in assembly before, this action of taking the knee. What on earth does that mean? Well, look that up. Look up the start of the taking a knee, a protest, a very brave protest by an American footballer. So not a soccer player, but an American footballer who chose to kneel during the national anthem. Didn't choose to protest, didn't choose to do anything abusive, but choose to kneel to draw attention. He wanted to draw attention to the lives, the rights of Black Americans at the time, talking about this disparity of how he felt they're being treated by the police. And here is a British sports team, a European sports team, continuing that protest. And you think if you follow that story, you'll also find there's people like Lewis Hamilton are doing that. A lot of athletes are doing that as well around the world. And it amazes me because these are the same sorts of actions that came out of, when I was growing up, South Africa, which was known to be a racist state of apartheid. So it's a colossal story from your lifetime. I find it hard to imagine you can't be moved by some of the pictures coming from that. Now, I haven't just raided the BBC site for stories, but there are some cracking ones out there. Look at this. NASA SpaceX, the Dragon. So Elon Musk has invented, put money into space flight. And he has now succeeded in something that hasn't been done since 2011. Astronauts being launched from the US soil, okay? and it's privately sponsored, privately run. So NASA, the Americans, are now paying Elon Musk to run this. Famous for Tesla cars, I believe. The pictures from it are fantastic. This is, I think it just looks like a film, doesn't it? These are the touch screens inside the spacecraft, and this is the picture of the how once the spacecraft has docked, once it's been launched and all the booster rockets come off, and it's managed to find the International Space Station in space. It detaches, it separates a bit more, but where are they? There's some fantastic figures here. I'm going to try and find a different colour to highlight this in. The spacecraft endures temperatures of 1,600 degrees Celsius, okay? Right, space is freezing. We have an atmosphere. The atmosphere is air, space is largely vacuum. As something falls at great speed through the air, there is still friction. So even though the air up at the edge of space is freezing, you have ice forming in clouds, something moving very fast through it creates friction, and that friction is 1,600 degrees Celsius, they're saying. Oh, and just in case you weren't sure, this illustration is not to scale. So the little spacecraft isn't actually the size of a Caribbean island. Now, again, why is it a fascinating story? The maths, the science, the physics that goes into creating these spacecraft, launching them, getting them to meet up with something in space, traveling at the speed it does, getting something that's safe enough to endure liftoff without the incredible fuel tanks exploding, getting something to survive re-entry. You'll see the history of spaceflight is dotted with some quite horrible tragedies in terms of these very brave people being launched up. A constant reminders that it's not actually just launch, meet, come back again. It's incredible science there. Right. In the news, there is stories about how schools are going to reopen, which students from primary school are coming back, which students in secondary school are coming back. And you probably noticed that at the moment, they're not really talking about the year 8s at the moment. So at the moment, it would be very easy to let this year sort of peter out a bit, wouldn't it? Sort of drift away from us. And I know from talking to quite a few of you that it is harder. Even the keenest of you are finding it harder to motivate yourselves with the work your teachers are setting, okay? But it's true for myself and my colleagues. We didn't go into teaching to just do things remotely. Though we may not always say this to you every minute of every day in the classrooms, how much we enjoy, we end up missing being in the classroom. It's not a way of working that we're familiar with. So if you're thinking it's just you that's now suddenly struggling with, oh, it's all just a bit hard in the morning, getting going, and we're feeling it too. So how are we going to try and give ourselves a little boost? Because term does finish on July the 24th, and everything we do now puts you in a better place for year 9, year 10, year 11, for the core subjects, for your PE, for your option subjects, your languages. Everything will build on what we're doing now. So how are we going to get ourselves a little bit of a boost to do that? If you feel that it wouldn't hurt to have a little short email a couple of times a week just saying, right, up we get, let's get started. I could send those out. Maybe you could chat with our form tutors as well, couldn't we? Just say, right, is that the sort of thing? What about joining up with a group of 5 or 6 of you who each morning, one of you takes it in turns to say, right, let's start with the French, then get on to our English, then we'll do a bit of the French, and we'll finish with the sciences today. We'll get it all done by 2 o'clock, and then we can relax in the sunshine. Find a new way of keeping things ticking over and motivating yourselves. But if you want myself and my colleagues to be involved with that, let us know, okay? I tried to find some inspirational quotes. You know how I always come back to Ali. I just think that See if you can work out where that photograph's taken. He said he only started counting sit-ups when they started hurting. That's when you feel pain, that's when I start counting. Then I thought, actually, perhaps that's how more how I feel at the moment. Lao Tzu, a Zen philosopher, said that some tasks are daunting. You might have got a little bit behind with some of your work. You might be wondering if you missed a week of something, how you can possibly get back into things. You might feel that there's a hurdle which is insurmountable. None of it's insurmountable. It's sometimes just about starting the task that gets us going with, okay? So it's about waking up, reading the emails, maybe sorting out what order you do things, but nothing's insurmountable. Nothing can't be worked through. The key will be starting. So perhaps that's something we could focus on this week, couldn't we? Is about not worrying about finishing tasks. What about just concentrating on starting all your tasks first? Okay? Wake up, good breakfast, list of what needs doing, and just aim to start everything. So the first task, let's say it's English. You read your email for 5-10 minutes. You've got an hour chunk of time. Make sure you start something, and at the time you say you're going to finish it, stop that task then, take a break, start the next one. Finish it when you say you're going to finish it, as in stop doing the task when the time runs out for that one. Have a break, start the next one. Starts, okay? And if you needed a bit of a boost, why not give myself or one of my colleagues an email and just say, right, it wouldn't hurt if every so often I just had a little bit of a nudge in the right direction.